We've heard so many beautiful languages here this morning, and I'm sure you know that language is very much shaped by the soil, the context of where it is, where it grows. That's why the Inuit people have over 50 different words to describe what? Because that's what they're surrounded by, snow. And the Irish people have many words for what? Correct. You're doing very well. We've gentle terms like Irish mist, a drizzle, a mizzle, a squib, a shower, a mere spit. And then there's, when it gets a little bit heavier, there's the cloudburst, sudden but heavy. There's lashing, there's pelting, there's teeming, there's stair rods, there's a downpour, there's a thunder shower, there's raining cat sand. So many words to describe one thing. So that's why in Acts 2, there was one word to my Irish ears that really caught my attention. It's the word fulfilling the prophecy of Joel 2. I will pour my spirit out on all flesh, all people. Not a drizzle, not a mizzle, not a squib, but a downpour, an abundant downpour, so that everyone knows something is happening. It's raining. It's abundant. That's good for me to remember on this day of Pentecost, because this is a moment where life can feel very tight and very scarce, where people are drawing political lines after tragic events like a pandemic, like a war, like gun-violent deaths, where denominational anxiety is on the rise every single moment, and we struggle to find this common language for people who are hurting, people who are wounded. And it's in this context God says, I'm pouring it out on all flesh. I'm going to pour out my spirit in abundance on all people, all languages, all nations. Too often we live in Babel, where we try to build our own case and defend our own position to ascend and strengthen and be secure. But Pentecost says, no, God is going to come down. God is going to help those who feel despair that they're on the outside of Babel, where we no longer belong. God wants us to live in this Pentecost territory where there's an abundance of God's Spirit for everyone. I'll pour out my Spirit on all people. The story of Pentecost, Acts 2, happens in a nation where, like many nations, there's a north-south divide. In the south, you have the people of Judah. In the south, you have the temple. In the south, you have the capital, Jerusalem. And you can imagine how the Judeans just inherently had a feeling of superiority. We have all these things. But in the north were the Galileans. You could probably tell the Galileans by their accent. It was a little different. Some labeled it uneducated, unsophisticated. But the interesting thing about the Acts 2 story is that the Spirit fell on the Galileans. It was upon the Galileans that the Spirit fell, and they were the ones speaking in other languages. And the people in Jerusalem were surprised. Why are the Galileans speaking like that? These unsophisticated, uncultured ones, they're the prophets, really? But that's how the Spirit moves, isn't it? God is full of surprises. The people close to the seat of power were able to witness nothing short of the world being turned upside down. That day in Jerusalem, there were pilgrims coming to the city from so many different countries for the Feast of Weeks, that moment when they were celebrating how God had liberated them from the Passover, and now they too were on pilgrimage to find God's word, God's law on Mount Sinai. Little did the disciples know it would be the pilgrims that would embody the new expression of the Spirit, this law that wasn't just going to be on their minds, but it was going to be planted on their hearts and in their lives. So today, instead of you sitting listening to a sermon, I thought we'd embody something of the spirit of Pentecost. We're going to witness and bear testimony to someone who's traveled as a pilgrim from the south up to the north, someone who's lived the law of the Spirit in their hearts, someone who has learned to trust the Spirit wherever they have found themselves to be. So, Karibu Ramazani, come forward, and we'll bring a chair for you to be comfortable on. And we're going to hear from you, Ramazani, about how... Oh, you're going to take that one. Very good. Take that. You sit there, yeah.
Good morning.
Karibu.
My name is Ramazani Malisawa.
Uh-huh.
I'm living in Grand Rapids.
Uh-huh. So, Ramazani, welcome. I met this young man when we were doing Alpha together on Sunday nights. There was a group of us for, about 8 weeks. Every Sunday we were doing the Alpha course. And you, Ramazani, were the quiet man.
Thanks so much.
You were the quiet man in the group until, I remember very distinctly, the tables turned when someone in the group was curious to know more about you, and they said, Ramazani, how many languages can you speak? And what did you say?
Yeah, for me, I can speak like almost 6 languages, but my mother and my father's language is just so which one? The language I can speak 100% is 2.
Kibembe,
Kibembe and Swahili.
Kiswahili.
So I can speak like English. I can speak French. I can speak Lingala. And I can speak Zulu too. Yeah.
Me, I can speak English.
Oh, thanks. That's good.
Yeah, I think you'll agree that
Thank
his
you so
English is
much.
pretty good for being a third language, correct? So we want to hear something of how God has been at work in your life. And you grew up in Congo, correct?
Yeah, I was born in Congo, and then I stayed there about I don't know, when I moved, it was like I was 10 years old.
Yeah, so you were very young.
I was very young at that time.
Yeah.
So I moved in Congo because of war. Mm-hmm. So I was a refugee in Tanzania.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Now, your grandmother, your shosho, was a woman of faith, isn't that right?
Exactly, my mother. So I just tried to go to church because of my grandmother.
Uh-huh.
So she was like a Catholic church.
Uh-huh.
So she's the one who was just taking me
Yeah.
to the church. So my mother, she was like in a Methodist. They call Methodist, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you were being brought to church by your grandmother.
Exactly.
Perhaps a little out of duty, would you say? We talked about it being a bit of a Juakali faith. Juakali is an interesting term in Kiswahili where you want to drive a Lamborghini. You only have a Subaru, so you take the label of the Lamborghini and stick it on the Subaru, and that's Juakali faith.
Exactly. So it was like I was fearful, it was like a perfect something like that. So I was going because of somebody who was brought to me.
Somebody else was bringing you to church. Then in Tanzania, you began to pray because you were a student there. You were working hard for exams, this diploma. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in Tanzania, I was going to church like that. It's not like a normally which one I support to go.
Yeah.
So when I attend like a Form 6, which one we prepare like a exam for diploma, something like that. So at that time you believe in God because you want to pass like a exam. So
Is anybody like that
yeah.
here? You pray when you have an exam? Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So that time you are preparing exam, something like that, so you have to pray too much so that God will help you to pass exam. So at that time, I become a strong Christian. At that time, it's about, yeah. So when you are preparing exam, it's about 1 or 2 months, something like that. So you have to pray. We was going around the churches, and some group, which one they are praying. So we was going every time, so that God can help us. So I tried to do that. When I finished my exam, I passed it. So it's like I didn't say, I say like to go to church again is over like I was going before. So I tried to do something, which one I was doing. So I fly from Tanzania, I use bus from Tanzania to South Africa about some problems. So I live in South Africa. It's about 7 to 10 years, something like that. So when I was living there, there is a challenge in the life. Is where I was starting learning Zulu. So they speak which one? I was in place they speak Zulu in KwaZulu Natal. They call KwaZulu Natal Durban. So there's a place they call Marisburg. Is where I was living. So is where I started to learn Zulu and English. But there they speak a lot of Zulu. So you have to learn Zulu. Because I was doing some business like a barb shop, something like that. So most of customers, they speak Zulu, so you are required to know Zulu so that you get more customer and discussing about customers. So English was like a few something, but Zulu it was like too much. So yeah, I learned Zulu.
You learn Zulu and you can
And
do all the
English.
clicks and the knocks of
Yeah,
Zulu language.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, so
very good. But God came into your life, so so far, just to recap, you'll have to stay with us on all the countries Ramazani's been to. So Congo, Tanzania, South Africa, but then you came over west towards America, and that's where you really had some life-threatening situations. Your life was in danger many times, and God has saved you many, many times, Ramazani. Tell us about how you left South Africa and some of the dangerous moments that you got into when you came over west.
yeah. So I left South Africa and fly to Brazil. In Brazil, I lived some months. So after that, I just traveled from Brazil until here. So it's where I pass in many countries and many problems I was facing, something like that. So
Brazil, where did you go after Brazil?
yeah, after Brazil, I just moved Brazil to Peru. I moved Peru to Ecuador. Yeah, from Ecuador to Colombia. Yeah, from Colombia to Panama. So
And how did you get from Colombia to Panama?
Yeah,
Was
from
it a
Colombia
river?
to Panama, there is a forest they call like Amazon, something like that. So there is no way which one you can use like a bus or boat, something like that. So you have to walk through that jungle.
You walked through the Amazon forest.
Yeah, so that one was like too hard. Many people, they die in that jungle. So I walk in that jungle. We walk about 7 days in the jungle, day and night. So there is a river, there is snakes, there is animals. So
And there's mafia too, you told
There
us?
is a mafia too. So when we walking from Colombia to Panama in that jungle, on the first day, because we started walking, it was about it was about 8 p.m. So we travel at night, so we have like a torch, something like that, so that we will see where we are going, we are walking. So the first day, so we climb big mountains in that forest. So you have to climb mountains, you have to go any place. So it was not way, like is this the way you are following? Your way is just you just cutting, you just making your way by yourself. So imagine, so we walk a lot all night. So we was walking in morning. So it was like the place we see like we are tired, so tired. So we have to rest. So we found somewhere to rest. Is where we get like a mafia in the jungle. So there is some people that didn't have like a uniform. They have like a clothes, normal clothes. Everyone has his own. So they have a lot of arms. So those people, when they saw us, they come to us. So all of us, everyone was like a scared. So at that time, we was already tired because we worked all night. We didn't rest. So everyone, I think, he get like a energy at that time when you see somebody just approach you and we have some story, like a citizen from that country say, oh, we are passing that jungle, but there is a people, when you meet people, there's a mafia, they kill people, a lot of people. So it was like oh, this is our end. So when they come to us, they started talk for us in Spanish. We have one guy who speaks Spanish. So we started talking with them about that. They say, okay, as we don't have problem with you guys, but we are the people who control this forest. So at that time they say, we're trying to take everything we have to give them so that they will let us know going. But they say, no, we don't need to take anything from you guys. And we know where you are going, we still have a lot of journey. That was like a lucky. So after that, when they tell us, no, you have to go, they go before us, and then we say, no, we can't stay here. Maybe they can come back and kill us or do something bad. So we decided, and then we get energy to walk again. So we didn't rest at that time. We walk until we see like this, we are far. I don't know if they can find us again. So it's where we rest, and then, so there in that forest, you know, if you have like a bag or have something to carry, so it's a long journey, you tire, and you don't have much energy to carry those things. So all clothes, we throw it out, we throw in the jungle, everything, and even food, when you have food, like the heavy ones, you throw it. So which one was left with us? It was like a juice powder, something like that. So which one you have to put, yeah, in the packet.
Yeah.
So you have to put water, and then you drink it. Is what he was doing. It was drinking all those days, 7 days.
That's all you had left, the little packet of
Yes, we left
juice.
with us those ones. So we walk without food, without clothes. We have only clothes. Which one we worry? So we just we walk through until God help us. We reach Panama in the forest. So when we reach in the Panama, so we on the forest, on the first village, it was like a citizen, and then it was like a transportation, like a cars. So we asked cars. First, we reach in Panama, and then we ask a citizen how we can get in big city, something like that. They give us way. So there was a way we walk, and it was raining too. So we walk like that. So it was at night, which one was a big river. So in that big river, we didn't know if it was a river. So it was like a walking. So we see like a water is just going up, so your body just going down. So there's one person who just see us at night, I don't know, so he tell us, oh, you can't cross that river this time and you can't walk. So there is like a boat, you have to wait until morning, you sleep here, and then the boat, if you have money, you can pay for boat and then let you guys cross. It's where we wait and then we sleep there. So we sleep without anything. We didn't put anything down, or you have to cover, and it was like a cold, so, and it's raining, so we didn't have choice. So when we sleep there, we cross in the morning. We crossed the boat, so we found like a car's bus, something like that. We asked them to take us and we pay you guys. Say, no, we can't pay you. We can't take you, because when they catch us with you guys, it's us we get in problem. So when the people, we started walking. So when we just walking, and then we meet some citizen when they are going, so it's like they go to report to the government. So the government, they just come like armed people, so they come with the big cars. They're coming like they are going to war, imagine. So everyone was armed, everything. So when they see us, they just put us under arrest, so all of us, so they just go around us or something like that. So they take us in that car, which one, it was like a van. Some there was on the motorbike, something like that. So they take us until to their camp. So where we didn't know where we are going, or we don't know what happened. So we think maybe we are in problem. So we explain our problem to them, and then they say, okay, no problem. They take us fingerprints, something like that. Yeah, and then they give us like a paper to
leave the country.
To leave the country in 15 days. Yeah. But they say we can't let you guys go like this. You have to put like a money. If you have some money, we found bus for you guys, and then we take you guys where you are going.
Yeah.
So it was like a small money we gave them, and then they found bus, and then they just send us. We go with them as the way they came. So some there was in front, other in back, other we was with them in the bus. So they escort us until to the border with they call Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. So you got through Panama.
Yeah.
That river was very dangerous. You were nearly swept away. Someone saved your life by holding on to you,
yes.
So the torrent wouldn't, or the current wouldn't carry you downstream. You managed, you got through, you were detained in Panama, you got to Costa Rica, you kept journeying up until California.
Yes.
You ended up in California.
Yeah. So through those countries, we passed Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Mexico.
Yeah.
So we end up in the jail in California. So I spent in jail, like we can say in detention, for like 7 months. So I spent there, so I have gone through processes with the government. You go to the immigration judge until I was granted asylum to come here. So there I didn't have any lawyer. Some people, they was paying money to get a lawyer, so the lawyer was very expensive, so I didn't have much money. So we tried to send, I tried to send a letter to some organization, pro bono, for free lawyer. So I sent that letter to the organization they call Casa Cornelia in San Diego, California. So I sent, after it was the take time, but they respond me, but I was already lose hope, to get a lawyer. So I decided to present myself, but after some weeks before my court date, they sent a letter to give me a free lawyer. So the lawyer come and they represent me to the immigration judge in the court until I get granted asylum.
And you began to pray again quite hard,
At
Cynthia.
that time, before my end day, that means the last court,
Last court date.
yeah, which one they have to judge me when they will return me back home or they will release me or they give me documents, something like that. So I stay inside, inside the jail. At that time, I started to pray and fasting for 7 days. It was like almost 1 week. So I was eating like at night. So I pray all day. I don't eat nothing until, so when I go to court, and then God helped me, I was granted asylum. So it was like my hope that is a God who's working. So, and at that time I knew God when I have a problem. At the time I knew God. So we can just see the way I was ready, I was learning at school, when I preparing my exam. So it's the time I start seek God. And even when I was in detention, I prepared to get my final court. So it's the way I started seek God, to know God is there. So those problems I just passed through. And then I was just preparing, no, this one I have to give testimony, but I didn't have that chance at that time until today. Even me, I'm very happy to give my testimony to show how God, He worked on me until I give my life to Jesus, to accept Jesus to be my Savior until today. And then I see God is still working on me. That's why I'm here today. Thanks so much.
Ramazani, what a testimony. Many of us will never have gone through in our life what you have gone through to be here. We're so thankful for the way God has kept you. We know there are many who did not make it, many of your friends through the river and through the jungle, but we're so grateful. God has kept you. You have a story to tell. And we feel, friends, it's so important to hear these stories in COS so that we can be family. And just returning to the Acts 2 story, I'm thinking this might affect two groups of people. The first group of people are people who have grown up in their own culture, never left their own country, and they're still living in the heart of their cultural center, but they're able to say, wow, God has moved in the lives of Galileans, and you're able today to bear witness to that through the life of Ramazani. And then there are others who've been pilgrims who have traveled a long way to come here. English is not their first language or their second or their third, but God has given you a voice. God has given Ramazani words to bear witness to how God has been faithful and true and been a rock for you. So whatever group you come from, make room for the other, because the kingdom is a downpour of God's Spirit. So much blessing, so much abundance. So let's give thanks to God, and I'm going to invite Pastor Andrew up now to baptize this young man, because we are so grateful. So I'll hand over to Andrew.